A leaked audio recording just surfaced, putting top FIFA officials on absolute edge. If you have not liked this video or subscribed to the channel yet, pause right here, because what you are going to hear over the next few minutes will leave your jaw on the floor. What we are about to share comes directly from the inside, from the very heart of the 2026 World Cup. And trust me, once you hear this, you will understand why the soccer world is absolutely on fire right now. Drop a like, subscribe, and hit notifications, because we exist to say what others dare not, exposing what FIFA desperately wants to bury under the rug with their polished, empty public relations statements. Today, we bring you the biggest bombshell of this World Cup leaked audio clips, revealing a massive, alleged conspiracy to manipulate the VAR system, which, according to everything coming to light, directly involves referees on the pitch, a shadowy intermediary pulling strings behind the scenes, and decisions that cost entire matches for national teams who dreamed of lifting the trophy. So brace yourselves, because this is just starting. It all started just hours ago when several social media accounts of sports journalists in South America and Spain began sharing explosive audio snippets, highly distorted, low-quality audio clips, apparently recorded on a cell phone inside a communications room right next to the VAR booth at one of the host stadiums for the 2026 World Cup. In those recordings, you can distinctly hear three different voices discussing how to alter specific critical decisions during high-stakes group stage and knockout matches. One of those voices, which audio experts are actively comparing to the distinct speech patterns of certain Central American referees who have officiated in this tournament, says, and I quote, "You already know what you must do when we reach the 70th minute. No cards at all." Another deeper voice replies, "Understood. We are on the same page. They have been notified upstairs." And there is the exact phrase that went viral in hours. "Upstairs already approved it, no problem." That single phrase, my friend, that one sentence, is exactly why half of the South American federations are demanding immediate answers, leaving FIFA in absolute damage control and pure panic mode. Before we continue, let me give you some context to help you understand how massive this really is. This 2026 World Cup, co-hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada, was supposed to go down as the most technologically advanced tournament in history. They sold us on this semi-automated VAR system, with cameras everywhere and artificial intelligence detecting offsides in a fraction of a second. We were promised that human error would practically disappear. And honestly, during the first few weeks, the system worked pretty well. But as the tournament progressed, and as the stakes and the money involved grew astronomically higher, bizarre decisions started appearing, and plays that just did not add up, reviews dragged on forever, and somehow always favored the exact same team. That was when fans, and even the players, started suspecting that something was deeply wrong. The first match highlighted in these damning leaked audio clips is a round of 16 clash, where Uruguay was sent packing under circumstances that, let us be completely honest, had already triggered massive controversy at the time. There was a clear handball in the box the referee completely ignored. The VAR spent nearly 4 minutes reviewing the play, which is totally unheard of for a play like that, and yet, they decided there was no penalty. The furious Uruguayan players immediately swarmed the referee. The coaching staff went ballistic in the press conference, and the manager, visibly shaking with rage, dropped a heavy statement that instantly went viral. Something here is not adding up. This is not soccer anymore. This is something else entirely. Back then, most of us just chalked it up to post-match frustration, but now, with these audio files on the table, that statement carries a heavy weight, does it not? The second incident mentioned, which is even more outrageous, directly involves the Colombian national team during a critical quarterfinal match. In that match, a red card was handed out that experts declared impossible to justify under current rules. A Colombian player got sent off for a challenge where, in slow motion, he never even touched his opponent. The referee was called to the monitor, staring at the screen for what felt like an eternity, and still decided to brandish the red card. Colombia was forced to play for over 60 minutes with just 10 men, losing in stoppage time. The Colombian Federation issued a harsh official statement that night, demanding immediate explanations from FIFA, a complaint that, unsurprisingly, never received a direct answer, only a generic message about respecting referee decisions in accordance with the official rules. Just empty talk and deflection. And here comes the third massive name in this entire story. Spain. La Roja walked into this World Cup as absolute favorites, armed with a young, lightning-fast squad, a golden generation that had critics comparing them to the legendary 2010 championship team. Then came the semifinals. Spain ran headfirst into a brutal match, where the ghost of VAR came back to haunt them. A perfectly clean goal, roared on by half the stadium and celebrated for almost a whole minute, was suddenly snatched away by a microscopic offside review that, according to sports technology experts, had such a tiny margin of error that the goal easily could have stood. We are talking about a matter of mere centimeters, the kind of distance that the naked human eye cannot even process. Yet, the system, supposedly flawless, said no. Spain was officially knocked out of the tournament. The Spanish manager, his voice cracking from sheer helplessness, let slip a heavy warning that is now echoing across the entire football world. One day, the real truth about what is happening in here will come out. Someday soon, someone is going to talk. Well, it looks like that exact day arrived a whole lot sooner than he ever could have imagined. Let us get right to the heart of the matter, the explosive contents of these secret audio files, and the story of how they finally came to light. Based on the details that first started making the rounds on social media, which were later verified by a couple of highly respected investigative journalists in the sports world, these audio recordings were allegedly captured by a technical assistant who was working directly inside the VAR operations center. We are talking about someone who had full access to the communication rooms, even though they were not officially part of the referee crew. As the days went on, this insider grew increasingly disturbed by the things he was hearing during his shifts at the facility, so he eventually made the choice to quietly record some of those conversations on his phone, just in case he ever needed proof of the corruption he was witnessing. Word is, he actually tried bringing the evidence to his bosses first, but the response was pure silence. Or even worse, a cold warning disguised as friendly advice telling him to keep his mouth shut and look the other way. Realizing that going through the official channels was completely useless, this frustrated worker, pushed to his absolute limit, leaked the audio files to a private group of sports reporters, and from there, the recordings spread like wildfire across the internet in just a matter of hours. Inside these leaked recordings, besides the phrases I already told you about, there are even more incriminating segments that have come to light. In one particular clip that lasts barely 18 seconds, but has already racked up millions of views across all major social media platforms, you can clearly hear one of the voices nervously ask, "What if someone realizes what we are saying?" And the response that comes back from the other side is chillingly calm and calculated. Nobody is going to notice. The technology protects us. Everyone will just assume it is a system glitch and move on. That is how it has always worked. That chilling sentence is what has sparked the absolute most outrage among passionate soccer fans, because it suggests this was not just a one-time incident, but a practice that has been quietly repeating for quite some time across different tournaments. Just imagine the sheer number of matches, sudden eliminations, and championship titles that would be completely compromised if this is true. Honestly, it is enough to make your skin crawl. There is another leaked segment, and this one goes further by pointing directly to a potential middleman, features one of the voices saying our usual guy already made the deposit, everything is good, just like we agreed back during the group draw. That line, our usual guy, has triggered a massive wave of speculation across social media, because it suggests there is an outside actor who has no official ties to FIFA, yet holds deep connections inside the organization, serving as a direct bridge between the powerful figures benefiting from these rigged calls and the referees executing them on the pitch. Nobody knows who this mysterious figure actually is, yet whether they represent high stakes, sports betting syndicates, a major corporate group, or something even darker hidden behind the scenes. But what is absolutely certain is that mentioning the initial draw suggests this entire scheme was likely being carefully mapped out months before the tournament ever kicked off on the pitch. This is getting bigger and uglier by the second. Let us shift our focus to the immediate fallout, because this is where the drama gets even more intense. The second those first audio clips started hitting the internet, the Spanish Football Federation was among the very first to take action, firing off a formal letter to FIFA demanding a thorough and completely independent investigation into what went down during those semifinals. Not long after, the Colombian Federation backed the demand, followed by the Uruguayan Federation, which had initially chosen to stay quiet and observe, but ultimately joined in once the mounting pressure from both the sports press and their own furious fan base became too heavy to ignore. Three major national federations, three football giants, all demanding at the exact same time that FIFA clarify what really went down in those rooms. This is no locker room rumor anymore. This is a massive scandal on a global scale, and we are only looking at the very tip of the iceberg. Naturally, the players themselves refused to stay silent. Several top players from the affected teams began posting blunt statements on their social media pages. One of the Colombian defenders who actually started in that match with the highly controversial red card wrote, he said they always knew something was off that night, and now they finally understand why. Meanwhile, a Uruguayan striker posted that their World Cup dream was stolen from them, and now they know it was literal. And one of the Spanish national team captains was absolutely blunt in an interview, saying if this is confirmed, there have to be serious consequences. People need to see real justice, not some public relations stunt. These words from the players, who are normally far more careful and guarded in front of the cameras, reveal the massive level of anger boiling behind closed doors in the locker room. And here is the part that really makes your blood boil, my friends, the actual reaction from FIFA. Instead of stepping up immediately to face the music, the governing body's very first response was absolute, deafening silence that dragged on for nearly 12 hours, even as the scandal was already trending worldwide. When they finally released an official statement, it was so completely generic and packed with empty diplomatic corporate speak that it only ended up fueling more outrage. The statement claimed that FIFA is aware of certain audio recordings circulating on social media whose authenticity has not been verified, and they are currently analyzing the situation in accordance with their standard internal protocols. There was absolutely no mention of launching an immediate independent investigation, and certainly no word about suspending the referees while the facts were being sorted out. Just empty words and diplomatic sidestepping. It is exactly what you would expect from an organization that cares about nothing but protecting its public image and multi-million-dollar deals with corporate sponsors. But the story did not stop there. Rumors soon began to swirl, not yet 100% confirmed, but coming from sources who have proven highly reliable inside FIFA circles in the past, suggesting that the organization had actually tried to directly contact some of the media outlets that first published the audio files, asking them in a very unsubtle way to take the content down, claiming doubts about its authenticity. Several journalists flatly refused, and one of them even took to social media to write, "They asked me to take down the story, but I told them no. We are not covering anything up here, because the people have a right to know the truth." That single post has already racked up over 2 million views, drawing thousands of comments from furious fans demanding a real investigation with real consequences. Let me tell you something you might not know, because to truly grasp the massive scale of this scandal, we have to look back at history. This would be nowhere near the first refereeing controversy in the long history of the World Cup, though it could easily become the most damaging of all, simply because we now have direct, physical audio evidence. Do you remember Maradona's legendary Hand of God goal back in 1986? That was a classic case of human error or just blatant cheating, depending on which side you support, but there was never any hard evidence of an organized plot running behind the scenes. Or what about the Calciopoli scandal in Italy, where an entire match-fixing ring involving referee selections was exposed, ultimately destroying giant clubs and dragging them down to lower divisions? Those are the historical precedents, my friends, real-world cases where after years of deep suspicion, the truth finally broke out into the open. The huge difference this time is that we are talking about the World Cup, by far the most watched tournament on the face of the earth, an absolute monster of an event that generates billions of dollars in global advertising revenues, in broadcast television rights, and in both legal and illegal sports betting markets stretching across the entire globe. And when you follow the money, that is where we have to stop and ask the one big question that absolutely everyone is asking right now. Who actually stands to benefit from rigging VAR decisions at a World Cup? Let's analyze this calmly, without getting lost in wild conspiracy theories, but looking closely at what logic and common sense are trying to tell us. First, we have to look at the massive sports betting market, a colossal industry that handles astronomical sums of money during every tournament, with betting lines on everything from who wins the match to how many cards are handed out. If a specific group of people has inside information on referee decisions before the match even kicks off, then the potential for illegal, under-the-table profits is absolutely staggering. Second, there are massive commercial interests tied to specific national teams or heavy-hitting sponsors with deep pockets, whose advancement to the final rounds translates directly to massive television ratings and millions of dollars in merchandise sales. And third, we simply cannot rule out the strong possibility of political interests pulling the strings from behind the curtain. Certain governments view the on-field success of their national team as a powerful tool for political popularity, something worth securing at all costs, even through shady means. None of these three theories are 100% confirmed just yet, but they are the exact angles that investigative sports journalists are already digging into. And honestly, my friends, absolutely none of this would be new in the dark history of professional soccer. For now, let us snap back to the immediate present, because these last few hours have been packed with fast-moving updates. A new official statement just dropped, far more detailed than the first, revealing that two referees who worked during this World Cup have been temporarily suspended from all duties while a deep internal investigation is conducted. FIFA is keeping the names classified, referring to them only as two temporarily suspended match officials, but several sports journalists with deep connections inside the referee committee are already leaking reports about their true identities. We choose not to repeat these names yet, waiting instead for verified official confirmation. Rest assured, we will be among the very first to bring you the concrete proof, so hit that notification bell. Both of these suspended referees were directly involved in at least 2 or 3 of those specific matches, specifically those highly controversial games involving Uruguay and Colombia, which is no coincidence at all, and aligns seamlessly with everything heard on those leaked audio recordings. Here is a shocking twist you did not expect, which completely changes the narrative. According to sources close to the investigation, the whistleblower who leaked those audio files apparently also handed over a physical document with handwritten notes found directly inside the VAR communications room, featuring a highly suspicious list of secret codenames, paired with the exact expected scores for several critical matches in the tournament knockout rounds. On that recovered scrap of paper, you can clearly make out a couple of distinct codenames, things like Eagle and Condor, written right next to what appear to be predetermined final scores. Nobody knows what they mean yet, but the mere existence of a physical piece of paper, sitting alongside those audio leaks, elevates this scandal to a level of organized corruption that is frankly chilling. This does not feel like an isolated mistake, it sounds like a structured operation with designated roles and serious money changing hands behind the scenes. Let us pause here for a second and really think about something incredibly important. We have all watched matches where the referee makes a terrible call, where the VAR check takes an absolute eternity, and the final decision still convinces absolutely nobody. Honestly, most of these frustrating situations are just basic human error under intense pressure, and the sheer difficulty of making split-second decisions on the pitch, while millions of angry fans are watching on television screens worldwide. But what these leaked audio files suggest is on an entirely different level, something that goes way beyond the standard human errors of the game. Decisions allegedly agreed upon beforehand, a calculated communication network between officials who knew exactly what calls they were going to make before the match ball even rolled across the pitch. That is the massive difference here, and it is precisely why this unfolding scandal has struck such a painful chord with millions of soccer fans who have spent years suspecting, without any hard evidence, that something highly suspicious is happening behind closed doors during the planet's biggest tournaments. Surely you yourself, while watching this World Cup, yelled something at your television like "this is rigged" or "this is a total robbery," in a moment of pure frustration. The difference is that now, for the first time, we actually have what looks very much like real proof that our gut instinct might be entirely correct. And that is both highly frustrating and deeply terrifying. Let us keep moving forward, because there is still a massive piece of this puzzle left to cover. What is actually happening right now with the official investigation while you watch this? Reports from deep inside the local organizing committee have officially revealed that FIFA has apparently hired an independent outside consulting firm that specializes in sports integrity to thoroughly review both the leaked audio files and that highly controversial handwritten document. This sounds great initially, and it seems like a step in the right direction, but here is the detail causing massive skepticism among fans and reporters following this case. According to leaked reports, this consulting firm has worked directly with FIFA on past public relations campaigns and crisis management issues, which naturally makes many people question their true independence in running an objective investigation. It is simply not the same as hiring a totally neutral, outside organization, one with zero previous ties, compared to paying an agency that has already cashed checks from the very institution they are supposed to investigate. It is basically like letting the fox guard the hen house, as the old saying goes. Meanwhile, public pressure continues to intensify with every single passing minute. Over the last few hours, hashtags associated with this referee scandal have exploded into worldwide trends across multiple digital platforms, with fans from dozens of countries joining the outcry, not just from Spain, Colombia, and Uruguay, but also supporters from other national teams who are now closely analyzing their own qualifying matches, searching for any similar suspicious referee patterns. Even some prominent data journalists have started publishing detailed statistical comparisons showing that specific refs consistently took much longer on VAR reviews in matches involving certain targeted national teams. Now, this on its own does not prove anything definitively, but in this climate, with leaked audios circulating and FIFA's credibility completely shot, Absolutely any strange detail instantly looks suspicious to millions of passionate soccer fans who have completely lost their trust. Let's stop right there and focus on one crucial point, because this is the single question that actually matters. If this massive scandal is confirmed, what happens next? Would matches be replayed? Soccer history has proven time and again that these controversies are incredibly difficult to untangle once the tournament gets underway. It is not as simple as just canceling the match and playing it over, because that would trigger an absolute logistical nightmare on a scale that a massive tournament like the World Cup simply cannot handle. According to sports lawyers and analysts, we are far more likely to see heavy punishments handed down to the direct culprits, meaning lifetime bans for the specific referees involved, though that does absolutely nothing to give the cheated national teams back their genuine shot at competing for the biggest trophy in the world. That is a deep wound that will likely never heal for those players and managers, and for the millions of fans who watched their ultimate World Cup dream vanish in a way that now looks completely rigged. Right here, we need to stop and talk about something that gets lost in all this noise, anger, and chaotic finger-pointing. The real victims here are the players. They are the ones who grind for years, sacrificing precious moments with their families, fighting through painful injuries just for a shot at representing their country on the biggest stage in the entire sporting world. Just imagine the sheer devastation a player feels when they learn their team was knocked out not because the opponent played better, but because of a prearranged call made in some booth far away from the pitch. You cannot put a price on that, and no payout will ever fix it. That is why we need brave whistleblowers, like whoever leaked these audio files, people willing to risk their entire careers just to keep the truth from being buried under a slick public relations statement. Still, let us look at this from every single angle to be completely fair, because some key figures within the refereeing community are urging caution before jumping to any final conclusions. Several former international refs point out that we must verify these recordings are authentic before ruining lives and careers over short audio clips that might, theoretically, be heavily edited or taken out of context. That is a fair point, but when you look at FIFA's pattern of behavior so far, their initial silence, the vague press release, and reports of them pressuring media outlets to take down posts, it does absolutely nothing to show that the organization is acting in good faith. When an organization gets this defensive, it is only natural for the public to grow even more suspicious. Now we need to look at another massive piece of this puzzle, the sports betting angle and its connection to the scandal. Over the final weeks of this World Cup, multiple global sportsbooks flagged highly unusual betting patterns on markets tied directly to the games currently being investigated. Massive sums of cash were dropped in minutes right before the opening whistle. Highly specific bets on the exact number of yellow cards or whether a lengthy VAR review would take place. Word is leaking out, though not yet officially confirmed, that at least 2 integrity alerts were triggered during the tournament, aligning perfectly with matches involving Uruguay and Colombia. If this is true, we are looking at a pattern that is impossible to ignore, linking right back to that chilling line from the leaks. The usual guy already made the deposit, which suddenly makes a whole lot more sense. But there is another layer here you need to know about, which is the massive role television networks and corporate sponsors play in this entire mess. The World Cup in 2026 involves, based on public figures, broadcast and sponsorship deals that dwarf anything we have ever seen in sports history, with corporate giants investing absolute fortunes into tournament advertising. A disaster of this scale, if proven true, threatens the financial trust of the entire soccer business. That makes it somewhat understandable, even if it is totally inexcusable, that FIFA is moving so slowly to openly admit how bad this really is. Admitting to an organized referee manipulation ring would completely shake the financial foundations of the entire global soccer business, which is something no executive wants to do without first exhausting every possible option to minimize the massive damage. Now, this brings us to a critical turning point, because just over the last few hours, as we worked on this, some brand new information leaked out that spins this entire scandal on its head. A third audio file has surfaced, shorter than the others, but it is easily the most damning one yet, capturing what clearly sounds like an intense phone call, away from the official VAR replay booth, and held in a much more private setting, where one voice specifically names a powerful executive inside the tournament hierarchy. We are talking about someone who directly controls referee assignments. You can hear them say he already gave the green light, there is no going back, everything is already coordinated for the semifinals. If this audio is proven real, it blows the whole controversy wide open. We would not just be looking at a few rogue referees acting alone anymore, but an entire chain of command reaching all the way to the absolute highest levels of the organization running the World Cup, FIFA. They have not released an official statement regarding this latest leak, though sources close to the governing body suggest that an emergency press conference is currently being put together for the coming hours, where they are expected to address the ongoing investigation and lay out the exact steps they plan on taking next. Naturally, many soccer fans are highly skeptical from the start, pointing out that these media events are usually just public relations damage control instead of any actual transparency or real accountability. We already know how this goes. They will walk out with big smiles. They will claim they are deeply committed to the integrity of the sport. And in the end, absolutely nothing changes. That post on social media racked up thousands of likes in just a matter of minutes, perfectly capturing the widespread distrust hanging over the entire organization during this highly sensitive moment. Either way, my friend, the brutal reality is that this entire scandal has forever ruined how millions of fans will look at VAR decisions going forward, not just in this tournament, but in every single future match. Once trust is shattered like this, rebuilding it is almost impossible. Every controversial referee decision we see from now on will automatically spark intense suspicion of some shady deal behind closed doors, even in situations that are really just the standard human errors that have always been a part of soccer. That is probably the deepest wound from this scandal, losing our innocence as fans. Before we wrap this up, we want to leave you with one final thought. Soccer, at its core, is driven by passion and collective dreams, uniting entire nations behind 11 players wearing their country's colors. But when those dreams are stained by suspicion of match fixing, by leaked audios detailing pre-arranged deals and secret bank transfers, something breaks deep inside the bond between fans and the game they love. That is exactly why we cannot let scandals like this get swept under the rug, why we must keep pushing for a real, thorough investigation, one that is completely transparent and brings serious consequences for those responsible if these allegations are proven true. The truth always finds a way out sooner or later, my friend, and it seems that moment has arrived much faster than anyone at FIFA ever anticipated. We are going to follow every single update on this case closely right here on this channel, tracking every new leak and official move by FIFA and the affected federations. So if you want to stay completely up to date on this scandal shaking the entire World Cup, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button to help the algorithm share this, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you get alerted the second the next update drops. Trust me, we are not done yet, and we are only scratching the surface here. Now, here is our question for the comments section. My friend, we want your completely unfiltered opinion on this. With everything you just heard, from the leaked audios to the handwritten notes and the national teams demanding absolute justice, do you actually believe this entire thing was rigged from the very start? Or was it just a case of terrible luck on the pitch? Was it a penalty or not? Drop your take down in the comments below, because we actually make sure to read and reply to the most debated topics on every single video. Thanks for watching until the very end. We will see you next time with even more critical details, more hard evidence, and the real truth about what is actually going on behind the scenes of the most controversial World Cup in soccer history. Take care out there.